Hey, shalom, guys. This will be a brand new series I'm bringing to the channel. This will be Messiah in the Feast. Now, throughout this series, I'll be focusing specifically on Leviticus chapter 23, which talk about the feast, the Sabbath, the Passover, the Sukkot, all these things. And I will show you how all of these holy days actually foreshadow the Messiah. So without further ado, guys, let's just jump right in and let's talk about Messiah and the feast with the introduction. So here in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1 through 2, it says this: The Lord spoke again to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, the Lord's appointed times, which you shall proclaim as holy convocations, my appointed times are these. So in Leviticus 23, God gives a calendar to his people. This biblical calendar differs from the calendar to which we are accustomed. The biblical calendar follows the lunar cycle. The waxing and waning of the moon determines the days of the biblical month. The tiny silver of the new moon always appears on the first day of the month. The full moon indicates the middle of the month. The disappearance of the moon indicates the end of the month. Now, God declares certain days to be moedim, that is, appointed times. Now, he says, quote, the Lord's appointed times, which you shall proclaim as holy convocations, or my appointed times are these. Now, the Lord has made these appointments on which to meet with his people. They include the weekly Sabbath, the festivals of Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, or Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. Now, the festivals like a shadow cast by the Messiah. Now, each of God's appointed times alludes to aspects of redemption and revelation of the Messiah. Almost all of the appointed times commemorate some act of redemption from Israel's history. Now, for example, the Passover commemorates the exodus from Egypt. At the same time, the biblical feasts create an eschatological blueprint. They lay out the pattern of redemption because they schedule God's appointed times for interacting with man. Each appointed time foreshadows one of the appointments on God's master plan of redemption. In that regard, the Lord's appointed times are also the appointed times of Messiah. Quote, times and epochs which the Father has fixed by his own authority. Acts 1:7. They represent the appointed time of the day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son of Man, but the Father alone. Matthew 24:36. In Colossians chapter 2, verse 16 and 17, the Apostle Paul discusses the observance of the holy days, which in Judaism we celebrate with food and drink. Paul refutes the proto-Gnostic ascetics who advocated fasting and frowned on food and drink and having a good time on these holy days. The Sabbaths, the new moons, and the festivals, Paul told his readers, do not let anyone judge you about eating and drinking on the holy days. The holy days area shadow of the things to come. In other words, the holy days are a foretaste of the great messianic banquet of the future. Now, a literal translation of the Greek of Colossians 2:16 says, they are the body of Messiah. In this regard, one who celebrates the appointed time celebrates the substance of the Messiah. Now, according to Paul's view, when we keep the Sabbath, the new moons, the annual feast of festivals of Passover, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, or Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, it's as if we are eating from the table of the Master in the Messianic era and drinking from the wine that will be served at the banquet in the Messianic era. The holy days are pictures of the kingdom, shadows of things to come, and are all about the Messiah. Now, according to our English translations, betray a theological basis by intentionally altering Colossians 2:17. Now, here, for example, in the NIV, it paraphrases the verse, these are a shadow of the things that were to come. The reality, however, is found in Messiah. In other words, the holy days are not reality, and they are only shadows of things that were to come, implying they are no longer have any relevance to Christians. Now, the NASB inserts the dismissive words mere into the verse, things which are mere shadows of what is to come. The implication is that these things are not for Christians because they are nothing more than a mere shadow, ultimately insubstantial and without value. The New Living Translation says, "For these rules are only shadows of the reality." All these translations imply that Paul advocated a disregard for the holy days, as if he was saying, "Let no one pass judgment on you for abstaining from the celebration of a festival or a new moon or a Sabbath." On the contrary, Paul says, "Let no one pass judgment on you because you are keeping the festivals, the new moons, and the Sabbath. After all, they are shadows of the Messianic era. They are the substance of Messiah." The following chart here provides an overview of the appointed times and their messianic foreshadowings. So when we look at the Shabbat, here it's talked about in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 2 through 3. It refers to the kingdom of heaven. Pesach here, brought out in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 4 through 8, talks about or refers to Yeshua's death and resurrection. The Omar in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 9 to 14, shadows the Messiah's resurrection. Shavuot in Leviticus 23, 15 to 21, references the giving of the Spirit. Rosh Hashanah in Leviticus 23, 23 to 25 is the trumpet of Messiah's coming. Yom Kippur from Leviticus 23, 26 to 32 is the day of judgment. Sukkot from Leviticus 23, 33 to 44 is the kingdom of heaven. And Shemai Aretz is the world to come, or the eighth day. And ladies and gentlemen, all those are shadows of the wonderful things that are to come and how they show through the Messiah. Now, through each of the videos that I will present, I will show in detail from the Old Testament or the Tanakh to the New Testament or the Brit Hadashah of how they all correlate. So please go on this journey with me as we go through Leviticus 23 and I show you the shadows of Yeshua within these feasts. Please like, share, subscribe, and I hope you guys will enjoy this entire series and it'll be a blessing to you. Shalom.